Hi, I am Rama Mahalingam and we are going to do a short story, Gajar Halwa, written by Gita Hariharan, who is a renowned novelist and who has made substantial contributions to the Indian writings in English. Gita Hariharan was born in Coimbatore and educated in Mumbai and thereafter the United States. She now lives in Delhi. She has penned 3 novels, The Thousand Faces of Night in 1982, The Ghosts of Vasu Master 94, When Dreams Travel in 1999, and In Times of Siege in 2003. She has also written a popular book of short stories, The Art of Dying. Her most recent work is a collection of stories for young readers entitled The Winning Team. Her novels have been translated into a number of European and South Asian languages. She is a freelancer and writes a column for The Telegraph. Her stories are deceptively simple and she draws our attention to the ordinary people, the trials and the tribulations and the vicissitudes that they face in life. Her language is very simple, graceful and reader-friendly. The author, Gita Hariharan, has chosen the medium of short story for this theme and has brilliantly woven in setting, the conflict, the character, making the narrative very realistic and driving home the message in no uncertain terms. Gajar Halwa portrays the travails of a 16-year-old village girl, Perumai, who arrives in Delhi in search of a livelihood. She reminisces her past wistfully. Perumai's mother has been working as a construction laborer, and while she goes out for work, Perumai would take care of her siblings. But when the bridge construction was completed, her mother is left with no work. Her father, a drunkard, abandons the family. Her mother has no means of livelihood and is desperately looking for a means of survival. She comes to know that Chellamal, her neighbor's cousin, has come to take 4 girls from the village as domestic help in the city. Immediately, Perumai's mother requests Chellamal to take her daughter and get her the work too. So Perumai is sent to Delhi to work for a Memsab. Chellama gives her instructions and warns her not to say anything to her Memsab, lest it should spoil her chances of getting the job. She tutors her to say that she could do everything, right from cooking, sweeping, cleaning, washing clothes, and what not, though her Memsab could easily sense that the girl has no experience. But she also knows that she can be trained. Her salary is fixed for rupees 200, out of which she has to give rupees 50 to Chellamal as a commission and for being her mother. In a few weeks, she learns all the chores, including looking after the baby. She makes new friends of girls who are also working in the same colony. They keep her in good humor, share with her the tricks of their trade, and keep reassuring her that she would soon get jobs with better salary. When the Memsab asks her to prepare Gajar Halwa, which is totally new to her, she goes down the memory lane while grating carrots. She recalls how she would cook rice and gruel and take care of her baby sister while her mother was away at work. The Gajar Halwa, absorbing all the milk, ghee and sugar, symbolically suggests that Perumai also takes to the city life and adapts herself to the new milieu. Gita's storytelling is so realistic that it makes you empathize with the protagonist. It makes you squirm and feel guilty about how our system permits child labor, the appalling state of poverty that deprives the children of their basic necessities like food and education. The story is not just about how a young girl learns the recipe of making the sweet Gajar Halwa, nor about her experience in Delhi. The author very casually draws your attention to the deep malaise that India suffers from, the problem of poverty, child labor, and illiteracy. Gita Hariharan stirs the responsibilities and sensitizes the young readers to the social inequities that exist in our country. Millions of India's children are deprived and denied of the simple joys of childhood, love, protection, care, and concern. We ourselves are responsible for perpetuating the problem. Families who can afford do not hesitate to engage young girls and boys to help them with household chores. These poor children are found working in roadside restaurants, tea stalls, shops, at construction sites, and in factories, or as domestic help. Girls suffer labor exploitation to such a degree that many of them die too. Some of them are verbally and emotionally abused. In this story, we see that Perumai has been able to adapt herself to the new surroundings and quickly learning the chores. But the question that arises is, would Perumai had liked to go if she had a choice? She is overburdened for her age. She has to cook rice and gruel for themselves back at home and look after her baby sister, while her mother would carry her little brother and go to work. Wouldn't girls of her age aspire to go to a school or a college? Wouldn't girls in their teens wish to be safely ensconced in the comfort zone of their home and neighborhood or with their own siblings? Wouldn't girls like her want to play, chat, watch movies and have fun with her own kind? Gita's storytelling is so realistic and moving that it makes you empathize with the protagonist. It makes you squirm and feel guilty about how our system permits child labor, the appalling state of poverty that deprive the children of their basic necessities like education and protection. The story appeals to your conscience and makes you look around and spot the Perumais in every home who are languishing in pain and sorrow because of poverty. You as youngsters should work to alleviate this problem. As a socially responsible citizen, when you come across children being employed, you should approach national government agencies, non-governmental organizations, NGOs like CRY, people's forums, corporate entities, and individual social service activists. You can personally explain to them the importance of education or to take up some skill-based course and give them a sense of direction in their life. The innumerable Perumais in India cannot fight the existing system or reason why, but certainly you can do your bit of procuring for them their right to an honorable life, of their right to education, of their right to the joys of childhood. Now let's look at the objective of the story. The author Gita Hariharan wants to sensitize the young readers to the social inequities that exist in our society and the rampant child labor and the consequences. According to the UN study, about 150 million children in the age group of 5 to 14 are working in various industries in India. They are found working in the roadside restaurants, tea stalls and shops, at construction sites and in factories or as domestic help. Girls suffer labor exploitation to such a degree that many of them die too. A child worker becomes alienated from the rest of the family, has low self-esteem and is likely to engage in self-destructive behavior. He or she is likely to have impaired psychological development and develop antisocial behavior, including lying and living with fear complex. Let us look at the case of Perumai. What would be the state of mind of a young girl like Perumai having to go as a domestic help to an unknown home? Imagine the alienation she would suffer, living with strangers at such a young age, deprived of her normal childhood, her familiar environs. Imagine the possibility of physical, emotional, and verbal abuse that the child would go through at that age. Many middle and upper class families do not hesitate to engage young girls and boys to help them with the household chores. The people just feel that by employing a child, they are helping the poor families to increase their earnings for a daily livelihood. Child labor is a very complex problem in our country. It is not as if people are not responsible and trying to do something about it. The government is trying its best to. In fact, it has come up with a lot of schools. Every state government is trying to do its best for the poor children. And they're trying to come up with as many schools and also provide them the necessary infrastructure, trying to get the teachers to come and teach in those schools. But those schools are empty. You find the classrooms empty. The children are not permitted to come to school. So why does this happen? Because no parent is willing to send the child to school. They feel that if the child at the age of 4 or 5 can go out and start doing what little they can, say as in even polishing a shoe or in carrying a little bit of gravel or whatever they could do, that they would be able to augment the income of the family. So this is one of the reasons. So the poverty is one of the reasons which is being detrimental to the cause of education. People in the villages are not really able to come forward and accept education, even if it is offered to them free of cost. So the government, I still remember in a particular school where the children were carrying huge sacks of rice. And when I asked them, they said the school provides them rice if they attend a month's classes. So obviously this has been an incentive to lure them to the school, to draw them to the school, that if they come and sit there and listen to classes day in and day out, at the end of a month, they at least get to carry home 5 kilos of rice. And this is perhaps, one reason why parents would permit them to go to the school. Otherwise, the parents would want them to just support them and take up some odd jobs which can provide for them. They cannot afford to let a child go to a school and then continue his or her education till the age of 16 and then look out for a job. You as youngsters can effectively resist child labor in any form. Whenever you come across in your homes or in your neighborhood little children working here and there and not going to school, you should definitely bring it to the People's Forum or some activists or approach the schools and see that they are admitted in schools and go through their education. If each and every one of you make an earnest effort, you will definitely be able to curb child labor. It is for every one of you as responsible citizens to do your bit for the society, particularly the underprivileged children. Who is to blame for this crisis in our country? The innumerable children who are deprived of their education and seen working as laborers. Is it the rich people who employ them because it is convenient for them? Or is it the poor people who do not want to accept education and who subject themselves to this kind of a labor? Even when they are given opportunities to go and educate themselves, they are not forthcoming. Despite our compelling them, making them understand the advantages of education, they are hesitant to accept it. Now, every one of us will have to definitely handle the problem from different angles. We have to see that we alleviate poverty. We have to make sure that the people are provided for. And education cannot be on an empty stomach. They have to necessarily be provided for. They have to have the basic necessities of life like food, clothing and shelter. It is only then when the family has enough that they can actually think of permitting their children to be educated. Definitely, the government is doing its best. There are activists and many forums which are very forthcoming, and they are also coming forward to see that they encourage each and everyone, particularly the children in rural areas, to accept education and go through it. While we see Perumai adapting herself to her new surroundings and being so responsible and taking over as the provider for her family, the stark reality hits us that there is so much of injustice and there is such a divide between the haves and the have-nots and the suffering of the less privileged in our country. What are we as responsible citizens going to do for them? That is what Gita Hariharan draws our attention to in this story. The innumerable Perumais of this country cannot fight the existing system or reason why, but you can procure for them their right to an honorable living, their right to education, and their right to their childhood joy, comfort, and protection.